Hi everyone, you're listening to Approachable. I'm Jo Henderson.
And I'm Paige Pierce, and this is brought to you by JomezPro.
Disc golf is approachable, and we want to showcase the many roles within the sport.
We hope you feel inspired by the stories of our guests, that you take that leap and start your dream job inside of this approachable community.
We're so happy to have you here, and thank you for coming along for the ride.
If you're trying to make a dream happen that you have to save every single penny you can, because money is a very important thing. Someone getting started out, you have to save and be super smart about every single penny that you have, because opportunities will present themselves. And if you have saved money or put yourself in a position because you were smart with your money, those opportunities can be had. Where I've seen a lot of people where they will spend their money, kind of be like a little haphazard about it. An opportunity will show up and only needs a little bit of money and they don't have it. And so because they weren't smart with it. So yeah, like absolutely, you're getting started on tour. You have got to figure out a way to save every penny you can, sell as many discs as you can, do whatever you can. And also the huge thing is with how big social media is in the sport, you have to start building your brand from day one. If you're an AM that wants to become a professional, social media branding is day one, right away, figuring out how you can connect to other players so they want to follow and listen to what you have to say.
Hey everyone, today we are interviewing Blake Shaffer, who is the owner and the president of LWS. It is a tax firm that also does payroll, financial planning, all kinds of different, anything to do with finances, he covers it, and he's going to tell us how this applies inside of disc golf.
I can't wait to talk to Blake, and I know you guys are going to love this episode, so let's get into it.
All right, Blake, what's up? We're so happy to have you on our new podcast, Approachable.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super pumped. I get to be the first one on Paige's podcast. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, we cannot wait to hear all of the things that you have to share about all things disc golf, business, and finance. So would you like to take it away?
Yeah. So my name is Blake. I own a couple different businesses, but my main business that I focus on is something called LWS Tax and Accounting. We do everything from accounting to payroll to taxes to finance. We do all kinds of stuff. We like to be the business advisor for our clients.
And we worked together, and you told me when we were first starting to talk that you wanted to be the disc golf accountant, and that disc golf was super underrepresented in that sort of field. And what was it in disc golf that called you to, one, start coming into the sport and then to offer this service?
Yeah, so I'll do is I talk a lot sometimes, sorry, so cut me off if you need to. But I want to tell the story. It's kind of cool. Like I love sports and I love business. And as a kid, I played every sport possible. Loved baseball. That was like my passion. I really loved it. I played a lot of basketball and lots of team sports my whole life. And when I got to high school, I thought I was going to be a major league baseball player. I was a decent pitcher, but found out my senior year at 5'6" that I probably wasn't going to go to the major leagues and had to look at something else. But through college, I played lots of sports. And when I got out of school and started having kids, I started coaching my kids' sports. It just was sports has just been a huge passion. And so my daughter did travel softball. I coached her team. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, my daughter was she just kind of lost her love for softball. And I was like, that's fine. You do whatever you'd like to do. That's cool. And for the first time since I was 4 years old, I had no sports in my life at all. And it was definitely something missing. And I didn't really know what to do. And a friend of mine invited me to go play disc golf. And I had played a couple rounds in college and didn't really know much about the sport. I loved just throwing something. That was cool. But he invited me out to a little 9-hole course by the office, and we went for lunch, and he gave me a couple discs, and it is so funny to say, but I literally fell in love, instantly fell in love with disc golf. And he started talking to me about the different plastics and discs and all this stuff. And he's like, you can compete. And I'm like, compete? What do you mean compete? And so there's all these tournaments, and I just fell in love, literally fell in love and started playing a lot. And then got into all these tournaments and loved the sport. And I thought, this might be an industry that's underrepresented with what we can do. And I don't know if anyone with a business like mine has walked into disc golf and been like, hey, we're here to help you. We want to help you guys be more successful in any way that we can. So in January of 2021, this year, I went to my team, and I like to cast a vision every year. And I was like, hey guys, we're going to become the accountants of disc golf. And they're like, well, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I'm the kind of guy that I just like to ask. And so I was like, I'll just start asking professionals if they need help. And so they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know, just start asking top players. So I sent a message to Ricky, and Ricky responded. Like I was like, okay, I'll just start messaging like dozens and dozens of players, and hopefully somebody responds. And so Ricky's from Ohio, that's where I'm from, and thought, okay, that's like a connection there. And sent him a message like, hey, I'm in Ohio, I'd love to help you if you ever need something. And literally responded in minutes like, hey, give me a call, I'd love to talk. And I'm like, oh, sweet, my first one.
Yeah.
And so the next day we had a conversation, became friends, really helped him out a lot, and he started telling everybody. And another person that really helped us was a girl named Christine Jennings on the FPO side. She's a local Dayton player, and she really started telling a lot of people about us because we got connected as we were getting involved in the local scene as well. But Ricky, like, he told Paige and Germ and all kinds of people, and before I knew it, I'm getting a phone call from all these players like, hey, I need your services. I've missed it. I need somebody that can help me run my business, or help me make good decisions, or take care of my taxes and get all the tax deductions I can get. And it's just been a wild ride, and we're helping businesses and individuals and all kinds of stuff across the whole disc golf industry, media companies. It's just been an absolute blast. Like I like wake up pumped every day to help somebody else, or help somebody like Paige, who's trusted us to help her in her business. And it's been cool because not only are we her business advisor and helping her, but become friends. And to become friends with amazing people like Paige and Ricky and Germ and Missy Gannon has just been like one of the coolest things that's happened in the 13 years of me owning this business.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously when you see Ricky respond that quick, you kind of get the point that this is something that disc golfers really need. And, most of my friends were doing like TurboTax, or, trying to do it themselves. And disc golf, it's, for one, you're considered self-employed when you're a disc golfer. And another thing is that when you're trying to do these, fill out these specific little placements on the forms, you have no idea what to put because it's such a unique job. So what do you find? How do you do the form, like fill out the forms to where it makes the most legitimate sense in the government's mind?
Yeah, so we've been doing this a while now. I'm 39, I'm almost 40, but I started the company when I was 25, so super young, and we've been through a lot. So, owning a business is rough. You make lots of bad decisions or make a lot of mistakes, and you learn from them and get better. And so we've become very, very good at what we do, and we understand self-employed people, have done thousands and thousands and thousands of self-employed returns. And so when we walked into disc golf, we had helped other athletes in other sports that are self-employed, like bowlers and different. We've had a couple different industries that we've worked with where they're self-employed, and we know these are the deductions you can take. And most disc golfers aren't realizing the things they need to do because a lot of it's in travel. And travel deductions are super crazy. There's certain ones you can take, certain ones you can't take. And a lot of disc golfers don't realize the amount of deductions they can take in the correct way to do it. Because if you do it wrong, then in the government side, you can't even deduct it. And so to get those big deductions and help them save money in tax, they have to get good advice on how to do it correctly. And so that's huge, because most disc golfers, like, the last thing on their mind is a tax return. Literally, like,
right.
Seriously.
Like, until April 10th comes or something, and then they have 5 days.
Exactly.
And then they're like, So can you elaborate a little bit about, you're saying there's certain things that you can, certain things that you can't. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, what can we write off? What should we, cut back spending on because we can't write it off? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so disc golfers are in a pretty cool spot where anything related to their game is deductible. So if that's traveling to play really anywhere, airfare, hotels, Airbnbs, mileage, it gets a little tricky, and it's good to have a good accountant to help you make decisions if you own your own vehicles, because sometimes the government gives you one or the other option of mileage. They call it mileage or actual expenses. and you have to get really good advice on the best way to do that. And so that's one big one. But the travel is all of your travel is deductible as a disc golfer. And if you're traveling to cities, not even to play, but traveling to go learn a different course or go somewhere else and play to get better, you can deduct those expenses. They don't realize that. They can deduct their meals when they leave town to go somewhere. They can deduct their meals, cell phone, any like travel ways, like, boosters on internet service and things like that are huge as well. So like really anything related to their game, if they're hiring someone to help them with their social media or anything at all related, buying discs, buying bags, buying baskets, all of it is deductible. Even like I've had people call me like, well, what if I travel to Florida to go learn some courses down there, but I live here, but it's not for a tournament? I'm like, absolutely. You're crafting yourself and your business to get better. And the more courses you can get to and the more traveling, you'll be able to deduct that. So they're always like, oh, I didn't realize that I could deduct literally all of my travel if it's disc golf related, and you can do that.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. There's so much overlap, I feel like, between disc golf and like the gear, the apparel, the travel. And that's really cool that it translates to basically anyone. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For myself, I'm an AM and I'm kind of dipping my toes into that like pro scene. I'm wondering how would a like beginner pro kind of start cultivating like a good, I don't know, finance habit or a good tax habit as a beginner pro? I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, so to the IRS, you're considered a pro the first time you take money, just like the PDGA. So like you take one payment and you now need to put it on your tax return. And a lot of accountants across the country don't realize how special disc golf is, like I do, and so a lot of them call it a hobby. And because a lot of times when you're becoming a disc golfer and becoming a professional, you have more expenses than money you're bringing in when you're getting started. You're super young, you're developing, you're getting better, and a lot of times you end up having more expenses. And the IRS says if you have a hobby, you can't deduct the expenses. But I know as a disc golfer, you have to go through that process of you're going to have years where maybe you aren't making money. And we know that you can deduct those expenses. But yeah, so like an AM getting started, the first time you take money in the United States is taxable. You have to record it on your tax return. If you don't, and you get a 1099 in any way from the PDGA or Disc Golf Pro Tour or whoever, you're going to get a letter from the IRS. And so the first time you cash and you take it, you better be doing that on your taxes. Now an AM, if you're just getting credit, not taxable, you just go get your bags or your discs or whatever. Right. You don't have to worry about that.
Say you don't consider yourself a pro and you don't ever get a letter from the IRS. Because there are people that don't do their taxes. There's people that haven't done their taxes for 10 years. So how is that one tournament that this semi-pro played, how is that important enough? How do you, I know that as a tax advisor, you're going to say, file your taxes. I know that. But I just wonder, like, what would you say to those people that think it's not important or that, hey, I've gotten away with it for this long?
Well, they're going to get caught. Like at some point, they're going to get caught. And so like disc golf has been like a smaller sport, a niche sport for a while, and it's getting bigger. And the IRS is going to realize money coming in, people winning $30,000 payouts, and most tournaments are now well over $10,000 for the winner. And so like the IRS is going to realize, oh, there's a lot of money over here, and all the states are going to realize that. So maybe in the past you could have gotten away with that and not done it correctly, but those times are going to likely be over very soon. And so yeah, we tell people every dollar you're recording that, you're paying taxes on it, and likely you have enough deductions to write it off anyway. So what's the big deal? Like you don't want to mess with the IRS. I've had plenty of people call me and say, I had an IRS agent show up at my door. What do I do? Like a new client freaking out. And so the thing about disc golfers is they're kind of like, they don't have a physical address a lot of times. They're traveling the country. And so maybe it's harder for the IRS to find them. And that's why they haven't gotten letters or received anything, because they're kind of, you don't really like settle down a lot. And so they're traveling and traveling and traveling. The IRS probably can't find you or realize what's going on. But the sport is becoming more and more legit every day, and lots of things happening. And so like if you're a disc golfer that hasn't filed your taxes, you better get that under control real fast before the IRS finds out, and make sure that you're deducting all your expenses and doing things the right way.
There was I think it was last year or maybe it was the year before actually, that PayPal actually started cracking down, and a bunch of players got their accounts like paused. Even I think one of the tournaments like got their account shut down for a little bit or something, because
Wow.
I think the IRS was starting, like you're saying, to catch on that, hey, there's a lot more money going on or being, passed around than there used to be, and they're kind of watching it more. You think that's a correct assessment? Like,
I think so. Like, I haven't heard that from the IRS, but I mean, PayPal and Venmo and all that is cracking down so much on money being received. And so like, that's a big scary thing for disc golfers, because a lot of times they don't have bank accounts. Like they don't have business bank accounts and all that. So they use Venmo and PayPal for everything. And before it wasn't a big deal, like whatever, but the IRS is cracking down on that and saying like, if you receive a certain amount of money into those accounts, we're going to make you tell us that wasn't business income of some kind, and you're going to have to prove it to us, or we're going to make you pay tax on it. So yeah, they're cracking down on it. There's a lot of money coming into disc golf, a lot of eyes coming into disc golf, and the IRS, every time there's a lot of attention, they are definitely going to find out if people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So it's definitely time. If you haven't done it, you need to get it done, and if not, you need to start now, because there's going to be a lot of eyes from the state, because you have states and some states have locals, and like you go to and play a tournament in Ohio and it's in a locality, you may have to pay taxes in that city as well. So you have to really pay attention to what's going on, or you can end up paying penalties and interest for absolutely no reason at all.
And Blake, for the people who maybe don't have an accountant or anything like that, how would you suggest that they organize that tax information? Like, I know for myself, even just normal taxes are sometimes tricky enough, but how would you suggest that they would organize that?
Yeah, there's some easy apps, like if you're good with social media, or not social media, but you're good with apps or anything on your phone, there's plenty of apps. And so there's two for tracking your mileage, Mile IQ and Everlance. So those two, Mile IQ and Everlance, do a really good job of every time you drive, if you have Bluetooth in your car, when you stop, your phone will ask you, was it personal or business? And you swipe left or right for personal or business.
Wow.
Tracks it. And then at the end of the year, you have an entire mileage log done.
Wow.
And those two apps are very good also for keeping track of your receipts. Every time you have a hotel or food, you can take a picture and you can tell it what category it goes to, and it can track your categories. If you need something a little more sophisticated, there's apps, accounting software apps like QuickBooks. There's something called Waze, WAZE, FreshBooks. Those are free. They have free versions where you can keep track of all your income and expenses, give you profit and loss, so that at the end of the year, you can hand a piece of paper to your accountant. They can prepare your returns, ready to go. And if you have a good accountant, they can help set it up, get it organized for you, so it's super easy. But there is easy stuff out there where it's not a burden, because I think a lot of people who are self-employed, like not even disc golfers, but anyone self-employed, it's a burden to think about your taxes at all. And so someone that's traveling like Paige all year long, it's like, oh my gosh, the last thing I'm worried about is figuring this out. So if it's easy to go, every time she goes out to dinner that's at a disc golf or pays for a hotel or whatever she's doing, she takes her phone, takes a picture, and uploads it to the software. It's done. It's literally done.
Effortless.
And put into the right category.
That's so nice.
End of year, she's got it ready to go with proof.
Well, and we do it even differently, Blake. Like,
yeah,
with you and I just have a business card, and if it's business, I put it on that card, and you just have, access to that account. So I don't actually have to keep a stack of receipts or a digital stack of receipts even,
Yeah.
Is that something you recommend as well, or you think that these apps are better?
Yeah, so if you want to, an accountant that can take care of it all year long for you is really nice as well. So, I try to think of ways to make it, sometimes cheaper. And so like if you're getting started, hiring an accountant to do your accounting every month may be a little bit too expensive. If you've been playing a little bit and have a little bit more income and can afford it, it's really, really good to have an accountant that can look at your books every month, give you good financials, help you make good decisions, and go, all right, here's how you are doing so far, at least for the last month, last 3 months, the last 6 months. And you can go through all of the expenses with them and give them a nice profit and loss so they understand where they're at every month. And so, yeah, if that's something that the player feels they want, then absolutely you should hire someone like a company like ours to do that. And that's probably the best thing that you can do, because you're getting good advice every month as well, or every 3 months, or whenever you want it, where you have somebody you can reach out to, ask questions, make good decisions for your business, and have more of a trusted advisor instead of just someone that does a tax return at the end of the year.
As a content creator in disc golf, or maybe even like someone who works behind the scenes in disc golf in a different capacity, How else can you save money on your taxes during that side of things? Maybe you're not playing tournaments, but maybe you're working in a different capacity as a like self-employed or something like that. Is there any insight you have on that?
Okay, so you're talking like a media company following the tour, maybe a
Yeah,
photographer,
anything.
or even somebody like that's got their own podcast,
Exactly.
or anything like that. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally anything related to what you're doing. The IRS lets you deduct it. So if you are whatever you're doing to make money. So if you're a photographer following players or a videographer, all equipment, all things you purchase to make content, you can deduct. Absolutely
That's
anything.
amazing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. I mean, for sure. Like if you're doing something to make money, you get to deduct all those expenses that you're purchasing to be able to do the thing that makes you money.
Amazing. So
Cool.
good to
Yeah.
have people like you around.
I'm trying not to. It's a boring topic. It is a boring topic, but I'm doing my best to be like I've spent 13 years making it fun and something that people want to talk about, because a lot of times it's like going to the dentist or talking to somebody like that. Like that's what a lot of accountants do across across the country that I'll hear. It's like they never call me back. They talk to me like I don't understand a word they're saying. Like what is happening? And so we try to make it easy to understand and make it like literally we try to make accounting fun, so that like when we talk about it, it's something that they're like, oh yeah, I'll actually like talking to my accountant, where most people are like, I want to talk to them once a year and that's it.
Yeah. Well, also, it's like money is such a necessary thing, and I hate that it is, but it is, we all use it to pay our rent and to get to these tournaments and to enter into the tournaments. And, it's one way of thinking to just ignore all that until April comes around, but it's another thing to kind of prepare. And that goes even past your job of accounting. That goes into the other side of your job of like financial planning. And I think Joe touched on it, like becoming a player that wants to try to start going on the road. Like what do you think those players need to be thinking about to save money? And maybe should they start investing? Should they get a side job? You talked about what they should do to keep track of their stuff, but what should that type of player be thinking about to save themselves money?
Business is tough. Like any business, every single business is difficult. Whether you're a disc golfer, an accountant, a creative content person, like it's rough. And so, saving money is literally an art. Like you have to learn to, like, if I'm giving some business advice, this is more like business advice of like, you literally got to save every penny and learn to not spend money. And like, if you have a dream to become a professional disc golfer and make the tour and get sponsored and be successful in it, you literally have to start from day one on saving every single penny you can save. And so like, that's more business advice, because on the tax side, like, we can figure out a way to help people get all their deductions and all of that, but that's spending money to get a deduction. And so the business advice I tell people all the time is like, you have to make, if you're trying to make a dream happen that you have to save every single penny you can, because money is a very important thing. It's weird. I'm an accountant, but I don't like money at all. And so like, money's not a motivator for me. Like I love to help people. I love to help people be successful, and the money kind of will hopefully take care of itself. But like someone getting started out, you have to save and be super smart about every single penny that you have, because opportunities will present themselves. And if you have saved money or put yourself in a position because you were smart with your money, those opportunities can be had. Where I've seen a lot of people where they will spend their money, kind of be like a little haphazard about it. An opportunity will show up and only needs a little bit of money and they don't have it. And so because they weren't smart with it. So yeah, like absolutely, you're getting started on tour. You have got to figure out a way to save every penny you can, sell as many discs as you can, do whatever you can. And also the huge thing is with how big social media is in the sport, you have to start building your brand from day one. If you're an AM that wants to become a professional, social media branding is day one, right away, figuring out how you can connect to other players so they want to follow and listen to what you have to say.
I love it, Blake. You got a little passionate there.
Preach to the choir. Wow, it's unreal.
I love this. I love disc golf. I love this stuff. Like I love business. Like disc golf is like a special thing to me. So I have two special needs kids. I have a son that was born, and when he was born, he's 15 years old, and when he was born 15 years ago, the doctors told us he'd only live to be about 6 months to 2 years old. And so like being told that anytime in your life is rough, and like all these dreams I had for my son of like being able to teach him how to be a man and all these things about, you know, you think about all these things you want to teach your child and your first son, and like the doctors tell you this, and it's like everything is just like gone. And my wife and I decided that we weren't going to like let that be his story. We were going to let him live a life that was amazing and like live a full life. And so he's 15. I'm going to be honest, I'm a pretty honest person. He's not doing great, but he's lived way longer than anyone could have ever imagined. And he's lived a life better than most people live if they live to be 80 years old. He's lived a better life than them. And so he's been an amazing kid. I have an 11-year-old, and then I have a 2-year-old, or sorry, 3. She just turned 3, who was born with Down syndrome. And when she was born, she almost didn't make it through the first night because she had a hole in her heart. She had open heart surgery at 3 months. And so like I have a lot of things that I deal with, and like disc golf has been like a mental health like massive saver for me. When I go play or compete, it's one of the best things I can do for my mental health. And so like disc golf has been really good for me. And so like that's why I have a passion for business and helping people be successful, because I see what it's done in my life. I have a passion for disc golf because it's something I really love. I see the future of it and being something special, and I want to be a part of that. And it's something that really helps people like be able to go outside and get sun and be competitive, or just throw and just enjoy outside. Like it's so good for you mentally in so many ways. And so like all of these things come together for me, and I just was like, yeah, I want to be a guy that makes helps people with their mental health by playing disc golf, helps businesses and people like Paige and Ricky be successful in their business so that they're happier with their life. And so when you say like you got passionate, I'm like, I really am passionate about these things, and I'm glad you see that, because I really am. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, something really cool. I've been to your office, but I know these listeners haven't. And it's so cool to walk into his office and to see all the discs everywhere. And then to see, for one thing, you see the discs in your office, but then every other person there has discs in their office, whether they play or not. You've made them fall in love with it. And it's just really a disc golf centric business. And even you have a monthly giveaway, right? Where you have a basket, and you have talk about that. You explain it.
Yeah.
You explain it.
We have a basket in the office where the first person to make 4 of 5 putts from the edge of circle 1, it's in our office. You have to keep it underneath there's like a pipe above, so you have to it's gotta be a pretty line drive putt. But yeah, the first person each month to make 4 out of 5 from circle 1 wins something. And so like you get 1 try a day, no practices. And so like everybody tries it. It's super fun. You hear like the disc hitting the wall and the water cooler, and like we broke the glass on our fire extinguisher, and like by throwing discs in the office, but whatever, we'll get that fixed. The fire department came in and got real mad that our glass was broken on our fire extinguisher.
No.
But everybody loves it. Everybody plays. We've had a pro come to our office, and they like did a little clinic and like helped people learn how to play. And we go a lot of times for birthdays, and yeah, we really do I love it. A lot of people in the office really do. It's cool.
That's
really
so
cool.
fun. Can I come work at your job? Because that's
let's go.
So awesome.
Come on down to the States, Joe.
I want to win
and the
win
prices
myself.
Are good.
Yeah, there you go.
The prices are very good. I saw them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's
Definitely.
one person that gets an extra week vacation if they get it. So we haven't hit it yet. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. I love it. That's awesome. So financially, do you think there's any benefit in going pro? Do you think that there would be any benefit in going pro, or do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Like the benefits are, as an amateur, you can't really deduct the expenses for one. If you're a very good amateur that's cashing for credit and receiving discs, and you're then selling those discs, then now you're starting a business. It's not a professional disc golfer, but you do have a business because you're selling a product that you got basically for free from winning. So like, yeah, that is a thing for sure. But becoming a disc golfer, I think if you have a passion and want to become a professional player, then yeah, absolutely, because you can then start deducting all of your expenses, where a regular player that's an AM player traveling around to regional tournaments can't really deduct any of the discs they buy, the bags, all the work they're doing. They can't really do anything with that because they're not making any money or trying to make money. They're an amateur. So yeah, if you're on the cusp of it, just doing it, one, is going to make you better because you're going to play with better players. and moving up a division. But two, you'll then be able to deduct all those expenses and likely be able to offset other income that you have to get a bigger tax refund or owe less.
Say you have someone they have a quote unquote normal job, right? A real job, but they also play disc golf. So you have now two different, so when it asks you on the tax forms, what's your employer, and then you have W-2s and 1099s, like how does that type of person do their taxes?
Yeah, so it'd be pretty similar, except they would just have other income. And what really helps, where if you're just a disc golfer and you have a loss, you have more expenses than income that you brought in, you just go with a zero tax return. If you have other income, you have a W-2 from another job, now your loss in disc golf as a self-employed person will reduce your other income that you have from your W-2 and get you a bigger refund. Or if you would have owed, you can owe less by taking those deductions. So yeah, if you have two jobs, a professional disc golfer and another job, a mortgage banker, I don't know, you work at Jomez, you get a W-2, like something like that, you can for sure deduct your professional disc golf expenses against that income.
So you're telling me that playing professional disc golf, even though you have a job, actually helps you tax-wise?
Yeah, if you have more expenses than income, yeah, it'll get you more money back.
There you go.
For sure. And this got to be legal.
Get out this weekend, go play a tournament. It doesn't matter.
Sign up as a pro.
It's going to help
Doesn't
you.
matter. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, we need more pros. Like, let's get more out there. Let's go. More girls, more guys. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So the alternative, we keep talking about self-employed, right? The alternative to that is becoming an LLC and starting your own business. What are the benefits of that? Who can do that? Like how do you qualify to become an LLC, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, so an LLC is a limited liability company, and every state has their own way to set one up. And so usually we recommend for anybody that wants to start an LLC to find an attorney or learn your state rules and file your own LLC paperwork. And so an LLC is really not much different than a self-employed person. It's taxed exactly the same if that's all you do is just an LLC. I recommend every disc golfer to set one up. Joe Henderson Disc Golf, LLC, something like that. So you have a separate entity. Your taxes won't change at all if you just have an LLC. The IRS doesn't actually recognize LLCs. That's a state thing. And you can talk to an attorney because there are some things that go along with an LLC, like a limited liability means if something happens with your disc golf business, it hopefully won't affect any personal assets that you have. And that's the idea with an LLC. But if you are someone who is doing really well in disc golf, you're a sponsored player or an AM selling a ton of discs or something like that, you can set up a business with your LLC that can save you money in taxes. So I recommend for a lot of disc golfers, depending on where their income is to set up an S Corp. An S corporation is a taxable entity where you can take your LLC and have it taxed as an S Corp. And there's ways to save a lot of money in that entity type where just an LLC or just a self-employed person will pay the highest rate of tax possible, where if you move that to an S Corp, there are some rules. You'd want to make sure you do it right. You want to make sure you hire somebody that knows what they're doing and can give you all of the rules so you know what you're doing. But likely you would end up saving a bunch of money in an S Corp because there's more deductions you can take. There's more, I'm not going to say loopholes, but like different advanced tax planning strategies that you can implement in something like that compared to just having an LLC. But those are really smart things to think about and talk about and walk through that process to see if that's best for you.
So what's the timeline like on that? Because you're saying, I'm sure listeners are getting a red flag right away. They're like, oh, attorney? And, oh, paperwork? I need to hire someone? And they're like, well, it sounds nice to save money, but that seems like a lot of hassle. Like, how much time does that take? And is it really worth it? Like, what are the actual strategies that you're speaking of?
So they depend on the person and what they're doing. There are a lot of strategies. So the thing about an LLC is it's super easy to set up. In Ohio, it doesn't take but 30 minutes, maybe at the most, to set it up. You're just filling out information and registering a name with the state of Ohio. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, an attorney can do that for you. And in most states, like we talk to disc golfers and we say, okay, you live in Texas, this is the website to go to, and you need to be able to fill it out. As an accountant, we're not allowed to give legal advice. So I can't, even if I know how to do it, I'm not allowed to do it for you, but we can show you where to go and what form to fill out. They have to fill it out on their own. It's usually just what's your business name and then what's all your personal information. We'll set your LLC up in the state of wherever you live. And then, if they don't feel comfortable with that, they can hire an attorney. It may cost them a few $100s. But once you set it up, in most states, it's just done. Each state's a little bit different. But like in Ohio, you set it up and it's done. There's no going back. There's no yearly filing for the most part. Like it's pretty much just you have an LLC in the state of Ohio now. And most states are like that. Now, if you do set up an S Corp, that is something that would require a lot of knowledge and learning and decision making because there is a lot to it. But if you go to somebody and say, oh, well, you're going to owe $6,000 in taxes, or we set this S Corp up and you get a $1,000 refund by adding a couple things, they'll be like, oh, okay, a little bit of paperwork's worth $7,000. So like it literally sometimes is that crazy and sometimes even crazier than that, depending on how much money you're making. But so like it's worth to go through the process. And also it's just like you're learning. So like I want to see disc golfers become business, like understanding business and understanding like these decisions can help you become more successful and help you make better decisions because you can't play professionally forever. Maybe, I mean, someone like Paige, who's literally just like a freak, maybe can play like till she's like 95 years old. But like, you got to figure out a way to like get everything going for you and making really good decisions for retirement and all of that. So that when you are done playing, you can transition that to another part of disc golf, or you've made so many smart decisions along the way that you can retire at a certain age and you've done a bunch of things to prepare yourself. And so those are a lot of things to think about, but with each person it's different, but there are crazy different tax strategies depending on the state, depending on the entity type, but we know that stuff and we can help.
So being an amateur disc golfer, right? And you're thinking about, oh, I want to get better. I want to go pro. I want to play these tournaments. Like, what are you starting to feel about hearing this? Like, do you feel like if you did take that next step, you would want to be like get an S Corp, or does that seem like intimidating?
It does a little bit seem intimidating, but the more Blake talks about it, the more I'm like, oh, that actually is pretty simple when you think about it. I only have to go to an attorney once and pay that one fee, and the LLC seems super attainable. The S Corp, I think I would have to talk a little bit more about maybe that with you, Blake, later on. And but I think that it makes a lot of sense. Like, in order for you to save more money and in order for you to keep going as a business, it makes a lot of sense to start off with that. And I hope a lot of other listeners figure that out too and feel the same way.
Yeah, and you can actually, as an S Corp, you can actually pay yourself as an employee. So you can be the employer and the employee, which is kind of an interesting like thing that I had no idea about until Blake, you kind of talked me through that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
crazy to be you are your own employee. That is one of the rules for an S Corp. And an S Corp's not for everybody. And so that's why like we're not like a one size fits all. We figure out your situation and what's best for you and go from there. But yeah, if one of the rules of becoming an S Corp is the IRS says you have to become an employee of your own company, run payrolls, file payroll reports. But if you have a good accountant, they just do it for you. You don't have to worry about it. So, but yeah, it is a crazy thing. My business is an S Corp. I'm an employee of my own company. It was weird at first because as a self-employed person, you just take money out of your business when you want it to pay your bills or go do whatever you want. And then when you become an S Corp, it's a little different. There are some rules on what you can do. The money's still yours, but you have to make sure you're doing things the right way.
So for myself, Blake, would you consider my situation, like am kind of going into that pro scene, would you consider that more of like an LLC, kind of like that's the route I would go then rather than the S Corp?
Yeah, so you're in Canada, so that's a little different.
Yes,
but yeah,
that's also different.
For sure. Like I would do that. Any business that I start, I have a bunch of businesses. I love business. I love trying things. Every time I do it, first thing I do is get an LLC set up because it makes it registers it. It keeps the name. It's just like I have a process of when I start a business. I go get a URL and I go get a bank account and all that stuff. And so I think for sure an LLC, it makes it more legit. It makes you think about your business as not just I'm a disc golfer that plays tournaments, but I have a business and I am a professional disc golfer, and it makes it more legitimate in your eyes. I'm a lot about like the way you think about yourself and getting yourself in the right mental headspace. And I think when you create a business, instead of just being I'm this person, professional disc golfer, but I own Joe Henderson Disc Golf LLC. That's my business. and playing professional disc golf, and it makes it so much more legitimate as you talk to people, and in your mind as you play, like, yeah, I'm a business. I'm not just this person that plays disc golf. I'm a business.
Yeah,
I like that. That has a nice ring to it. I love it. I think I'm going to have to go set that up pretty soon here.
Would you say that you don't need to be an LLC or an S Corp? Like everyone that's listening that doesn't have one, they don't need one, right? It's just kind of if you're taking that next step and you're really making this your job.
Yeah, it just depends on what you want. There's, every person's different on what they want and where they want to go. And so, there's a lot of things to think about and talk through with somebody that you trust, that knows what they're talking about, that can help you make good decisions. Yeah, because for some people, it's not what you want to do. You might want to leave it as just nothing for a little bit of time. And so we meet players, and we have met players this year. We're like, whoa, LLC, S Corp, not time. Like it would be way more work than it would help you. Let's not do that. Let's talk about how we can get the most out of your deductions in this year, and then reevaluate in 2022 based on how well you're doing or whatever. So it isn't something you want to jump into for sure. You want to learn what it's about and make the best decision.
Another thing that we started talking about a lot in working together is like other ways to generate income. And that has been through like setting up IRAs. And, we don't, like you said a minute ago, like unless you're a freak, you're probably not going to play till you're 95. And you don't have, in disc golf, unfortunately at the top level, even we don't have, our sponsorship deals don't include retirement funds of any sort. So that's something that to think about, if you are taking disc golf to this next level and you want to make it a career, you do have to do these things. You have to think about a LLC, you have to think about an S Corp, and you really want to start thinking about an IRA, which is a retirement account. And I think that that's something that I feel, one of those things that I feel confidence in, knowing that, okay, if I do get hurt, I'm still saving money that way and collecting money for future page. I always refer to myself as future page when I'm thinking about, stuff that will help me later down the line. So what do you think about IRAs? Do you think those are for everyone?
Yeah. So retirement is always a smart thing. I was the kind of guy that at first I didn't believe in it because I'm like, I'm going to figure out my own retirement. And then I got to 30, 32, 33, 34. And I'm like, oh, I don't have anything. And so like learn more and like, oh yeah. You better have something together because if something happens, you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself and your family. And so like there's many types of retirement accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks, self-employed plans. There's a lot. And so like what we try to do is we meet a disc golfer that maybe isn't set up correctly or they're paying too much in tax. And we go, oh, if you do this, this, and this, it's going to save you $4,000 a year, $6,000 a year in tax. Now let's take that tax savings and put that money into an IRA or a Roth IRA or a 401k. And now we've helped fund your retirement and you haven't you're out no less money than you were before. And so like, that's where we really try to find our value is figuring out deductions you can take that save you money, where if you're like, oh, if I would have done my taxes on my own, I would have owed this much money. But with the help of LWS, they got it down some. And now I can take that money, put it into a retirement, make good decisions. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. We refer that stuff out. We do taxes, accounting, and payroll. But if you're young, a Roth IRA is where it's at because a Roth IRA, you can put money into it and it earns money forever. And when you take the money out, it's not taxed. So you pay tax basically now on the money, and then it builds tax-free at the end, where if you do a traditional Roth or a traditional IRA and you put money into it, you get a tax deduction now, but when you take it out, you have to pay tax on all of the profits of the account. So if you're young, I tell people anything under like 40, 45, you probably want to do a Roth IRA because the tax deduction now isn't that great, and that money is going to quadruple, 10x, 15x. So when you take it out later, you have to pay tax on all that money.
And what about the 401k that you were speaking of?
So 401ks are like a traditional IRA, but there are Roth 401ks. So you can put your money, it's the same idea. You can put money away with the tax deduction now, or don't pay taxes later when you take it all out. And so that's just talking with a financial advisor and your accountant and figuring out what's best for you and what your ambitions and dreams and goals are for your future and making the best decisions. So, everybody, it's hard because each of these decisions in business isn't a one size fits all. It's what do you want? Where do you see yourself in the future? And how can we help make that happen? So we can talk with clients about that. There's a great financial advisors all across this country that can help with that, and we can like push people towards to help with. And that's a very important part of becoming a disc golfer and a professional disc golfer, so that when you do retire or stop playing as much and traveling as much, you've built up something that will take care of you for a really long time.
Blake, I was just wondering, do you have any like 5 or 10, like maybe 3 even, of your best tax saving strategies? Like, I know you like to make tax saving fun and finances fun and all of that stuff fun, make accounting fun again. So like, give us your best, like the gold that you have in there.
Yeah, or anything like we haven't asked you yet. You know,
Yeah,
that
that's
you're
right.
like,
Yeah, anything else?
wow, you guys aren't even thinking about this,
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'm so different. It's so funny to say these things. Like, we've talked so much about all of the deductions and all of that stuff. So like the S Corp is usually the biggest thing, but like, I like to go like business advice and life advice. Like I love that stuff.
Come on,
like,
let's do it.
like money is not the most important thing in life. Like if you have something you love to do, then find that, and usually the money will work itself out. Like I have worked with lots of people across this country, very successful people that some people would say aren't successful, and to me the person I always think is the most successful is the person that's just happy. And so like if they got a $25,000 a year income and they're barely paying their bills, but they love what they're doing, I'm like, that person's successful because they're happy. Where I have plenty of clients that make tons of money, and usually what I see is they just want to accumulate more money, and they don't really seem that happy. And so like I always tell people, like, find the thing that's really going to make you happy, because my things are always like, when I'm old, I'm going to be like, what do I regret? What do I wish I would have done? And usually I would say 99% of the time, if I chose the decision that made me more money, but not the thing that made me most happy, I'm going to be very disappointed in myself and wish that I would have done the thing that made me most happy. And so like, I think about stuff like that a lot, like taxes and deductions. We'll figure all of that stuff out. But like the biggest part is like figuring out what in the world is going to make you happy with your life, so that when it's like over, or even like for me, I'm like, okay, I tried something and it failed. Well, I'm glad I tried it, and who cares if I lost money? Like, I tried something, it failed, I learned. Now I'm not wondering when I'm 80, I wonder if that would have worked. Like, I know I tried it and it sucked. It didn't work. So like, those are the things, like when you have people ask me advice, I always flip it. Sorry. Like, I like to talk about that stuff, okay. Like the taxes, the S Corps, the business deductions, that stuff we can always figure out what's best for you. But literally, we're talking about people who have the ability to travel a country, making money, throwing frisbees in the woods. Like, that's the greatest thing. I feel like that would be the greatest job ever. So like,
seriously,
like, who cares how much money you're making? Like, it's so sweet. Like, have you told someone that, how could they not be like, that's what I want to do, you know?
Uh-huh.
So true. I love that.
Okay, well, let me flip it back on you then again.
Okay.
Because you got these people listening now, and you probably got a bunch of them hooked, and they're like, okay, I want Blake to be my accountant, but you can't service every single disc golfer, right? So how you do, obviously you don't have to be in Ohio to get your services, right? But what if there's these people out there that want to have a local accountant? How do you find an accountant agency near you that is reputable, like basically a Yelp for accounting, you know? Like, how do you know they're going to be as nice as you, as responsive, as, you know, approachable?
Well, thanks for saying that. That's nice. You know, it's rough. Like, accounting has been a very, very difficult thing during the pandemic. Tax season is very stressful for accountants, and they extended tax season in 2020, 3 extra months. And so like, I felt like tax season never ended in 2020. And like every accountant that was even thinking about retiring retired, because like, this is ridiculous. And then the year was crazy. There were multiple stimuluses, and then the year ends, and then a third stimulus in 2021 to start the year, and a tax season that got extended again, and accountants are like drained. They really are drained. And so like, I always recommend people like, find the accountant that loves the niche that you're in. And so like that's what usually like if you're a plumber or you're a contractor or a professional baseball player, professional disc golfer, find the accountant that loves your industry because they're going to work super hard for you. They have a similar passion to you. And so like a local accountant, I'm sure there's plenty of good ones. Like there's great ones in my city that I'm friends with that I love and are super smart and are like that. But the thing I normally hear from disc golfers or other people is, I got an accountant, they never call me back. I can't get questions answered. And it's a struggle. Like we're in an industry that's very like we're needed and people call a lot. And it's hard at times to be able to get back to people because the amount of work you have. And so it's really like it becomes down to a passion. And so like if you have a passion for the thing that your client does, you're going to work even harder to talk to them. So but there are accountants that literally just love what they do and they don't care what that person does. Like they just like us, like all of our clients, we're like, we'll jump for them, we'll do whatever we can. But like, it's hard, just like anything else. Like it's hard to find people who care about you and want to help you be successful. But, you know, it's just like anything else. It's asking around and finding a good person and someone that has good reviews or someone that cares, because it's a rough industry. Like you got to be able to handle a lot of stress. And a lot of like late nights and things like that. And so at times it is difficult to get back to people because they have questions where it takes a lot of effort to figure out answers for them. And so it's a lot to even make a phone call to make sure you're prepared to go over all the things they need. So I love disc golf. You can call me. We can help lots of people. We have a staff of almost 20, so we can help. Give us a call. You know, let's do it. But if not, I can try to help you find somebody. You give me a call and say, hey, I want a local accountant. I'll do whatever I can to help. Like if someone calls me that's in disc golf in any way and wants help, I'll do whatever I can to help. If that means I'm not helping you, that's fine. I'll help you figure out the thing you need. So
amazing.
Tell them to call me.
A man of the people. A man of the people.
Blake, that's amazing. So awesome.
I have a really good assistant that like makes it's not me. She like makes sure that I'm getting back to people. She's really incredible. So that helps me look way better than I am.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. So I got one more topic for you before we let you go today. So you talk about helping people all the time, right? And you are obviously passionate about disc golf. And I remember last time I came to your office, you pulled me into came to your business. You pulled me into your office and said, I want to be your agent. Like I want to start an agency. I already have all these businesses. I'm going to start a new business. What do you think? I just want you to kind of talk about that decision to create another new business and another new business inside of disc golf. You know, obviously you saw that disc golf is evolving to a point where it's smart to open businesses inside disc golf. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, really, is that there are so many different avenues inside of disc golf besides just playing. And so I know that this is slightly off topic, but this is completely what our podcast is about, right, Joe? Is that there's so many different ways. And becoming an agent, starting a new business and tackling this, you know, can you just talk about that entire thought process of deciding to do that and what has come of it?
Yeah. So when Ricky and Christine became clients and they, you know, posted about us, or Ricky put us on his shirt, lots of people were calling and asking, and I'm like, whoa, like it went really fast. Like the disc golf community is tight. When they trust somebody, they all are like, oh, I'm going to, if I like something or appreciate it, I'm telling all the players, I'm telling my friends. And the disc golf community is so tight, and the players they talk a lot, and they're like, oh, well, this guy's done an amazing job for me, or this girl's done amazing, or this company. They tell each other, and it happens quick. And then that turns into them telling more people and more people and more people. And I had never witnessed that in my 13 years of running businesses, how quick it happened. And so I'm like, oh, there's something here. There's not a lot of big brands here yet, but I'm like, my story alone can talk to brands and be like, hey, the disc golf community is amazing. For one, the amateurs that watch the game and watch the pros love the professionals. They love to watch them and like try to replicate their shots or buy their discs. And I'm like, oh, and then yeah, they're formed. And so like, for me, it was like, oh, light bulb, like this, all these players are calling me, and I have a expertise that they need. all these other brands can get the same thing. And so I'm like, I think like an agency like disc golf agents are going to be a thing. And I have contacts. I love business. I love helping people. If I can help players become more successful and get other outside of disc golf companies coming in, and I show them how amazing the sport is, like I can't wait till the tournaments come in 2022 and the companies that I'm going to be like bringing to all the courses and showing them disc golf and being like, check this out. And they're going to be floored when they see it, because the excitement around like big shots and tournament wins and like, you know, and seeing the amazingness of disc golf and the fans and the community, brands are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And like Jeff Spring's done such a good job with that, with the Pro Tour and getting these bigger sponsors to see it and see the value. And that's going to keep happening. And I'm like, if I can over in my little corner do the same thing and help players become successful, get more deals, make more money, bring in other brands that had never thought about disc golf into it, then those brands realize how sweet it is. They tell other big companies, like, we went to disc golf and we sold all these things. Like, I wasn't ready. And so I think things like that are going to happen. And if I can just be a part of it in any way, I wanted to do that. And so when we talked about that, I'm like, heck yeah, Paige, I will do whatever it takes. I will work like crazy. I will not sleep. I will figure out what I can to help you. And since then, we've added 3 other players. So like we have 4 players that we represent to help get them deals and bring more brands and people and eyes into disc golf. So it's exciting. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm doing whatever I can to help the game grow and let people see from the outside how amazing this sport is.
If that's not growing the sport, I don't know what is. That's amazing, Blake.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so you've also hired more employees now for this new business. And so what do you have them doing on a day-to-day basis? And like, what is your progress that you've had through this new, business venture?
Yeah, so I hired support staff that all day long, they contact brands that our players are interested in and just calling them and making phone call after phone call after phone call, or instant message after instant message, or instant DM after DM to any brand that will listen, that is interested. And we can show them like, these players are so great. Like meeting Paige, like I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. Like I'm meeting the best player to ever do something. Like she's the best player in the world and will be considered the greatest of all time. And like I meet her and I'm like, I wonder what she's going to be like. It was literally, I'm like, this is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my whole life. And then like I meet Ricky, and like he's like the funniest, silliest, most fun guy. And then like I meet Germ and Sexton and Missy, and I'm like, these people are amazing. And like the Oakleys, and I'm like, man, this community is so cool. And so like showing those people off. But like, yeah, we've had meetings. We had a really exciting meeting today for one of our players that we think might turn into something. We've been talking to, foundations that that love, like women's foundations that want to have equity in sports between the men's and women's games, and how Paige and Missy are so good at that, and like showing how valuable they are, and like having those conversations are cool, and talking about how other foundations or sports agencies can come into disc golf and help. And so like we've had a lot of really exciting things, nothing I can say, but like it's been pretty cool, and I'm excited for the next year, because it's hard to show people what it is without them coming. When they come to a tournament and see it, now they're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. Like now I understand. And like going to Worlds or to a Pro Tour event and seeing the fans and the excitement, and watching Paige throw a disc 500 feet, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that was sweet. And so like stuff like that is so cool, and just watching it. And so like I'm excited for the next year or two to see brands come in, look at how great these players are and what amazing people they are, for one, and then see how talented they are, and then see the raving fan base and following. They're going to love it just as much as I do.
Yeah, it's so contagious. And I feel like you're so right in just bringing people into that physical space. It only just elaborates on that atmosphere that is so contagious. So yeah, I love that you said that.
Can you imagine a brand, like all these brands being at Worlds when James hits that shot? Like,
oh my
they're
God.
going to be like, how much money does disc golf want?
Yeah.
What's that?
Instantly.
Like, take my money here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was,
Anybody
and like that stuff
will.
happens like at so many tournaments. There's amazing things that happen. Like just disc golf is so fun to watch a throw in, or someone hit an ace, or a big putt, and the excitement. Like it's just so fun to watch, and the energy. Like at USDGC when Paul made that long putt to win, like the excitement, I was able to be there, and the excitement of like that energy was just like, this is some sweet stuff. This is so cool.
You can't make that stuff up. That stuff is just
it's so amazing.
unreal. It's so cool. Yeah.
It's magic. So, okay, I have one last question. So this is just more generalized, like as a business owner and a successful business owner, how many businesses did you say you have?
I don't know, 5 or 6. I don't know. I have a gym in Ohio. If anybody likes to work out, I have a pretty sweet gym. But I have a few. I have some passion projects for like special needs kids, and a gym, and an accounting firm, and sports agency, and a couple other things. But I love business, so yeah, I have a few.
So multiple business owner is my point here. You have multiple businesses. What is your best advice for someone who is, maybe they make an incredible product, maybe who knows what it is? You know, there's so many different things that it could be, but what is your advice for them to take that step to become someone who is passionate about making something or doing something, and now taking that leap of faith to now turning it into a business, and the steps that it takes to make that dream into like a successful business?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is like fear sets in real fast with any business. Like, oh my gosh, like, do I know what I'm doing? Is anyone going to like it? Am I going to look dumb? What is my family going to think, and my friends, and all that? Like, people start thinking all those things. Like, fear is usually the first thing to set in. Like, yeah, what if I fail? Like, you should want failure. Like, literally, when I fail, I usually go, okay, that's a good thing. Like, really good. Like, usually I end up making, like, people will think about starting a business, and they'll talk about it and talk about it and think about it, and I will try it immediately. I will try 10 ways, and I'll make 10 mistakes before they try something. I've learned, and then now, try number 11, I was successful because I figured out all the things not to do. Like, it's just like effort and passion and finding something that you care about, and not caring that if someone like your mom or your best friend's like, that's dumb, like, that's not going to work, and being able to go, I don't care that you said that, I'm still going to go do it. And if I fail, I fail. Like, when you get over the fear of failure, so many good things happen. And then when you fail, you realize, I've just failed enough. Like, I'm okay to say it. I don't care if people know. Like, I've made lots of mistakes, and that's okay. Like, that's part of life. Like, that's how you get better at so many things, is making mistakes. You hope not to make them. If you do, hey, you learned and you get better. And so, and if you don't learn and don't get better, you got a problem. But learning and getting better. And so, like, don't be afraid. Go for the thing that makes you happy. Like, we get one life. We want to be happy. Like, literally just find the thing that makes you happy. Don't chase money, and just find the thing and just go for it. And if you fail, you fail. Oh, well, like, whatever, it happens. And so, like, that's when I got over that. Like, I remember thinking, like, what are my friends going to think if I mess up? Or what is my staff going to think if, like, I didn't do a good job leading an employee and they leave? And that stuff happens. And once you realize, like, I'm not perfect, but I have a dream and a vision for what I want to do with a company or for my life, I'm just going to go for it with everything I got. And if I mess up, I mess up. But, like, usually after a few mistakes, you end up finding the thing that works, and it turns into being something. So, like, those are the things. Like, don't chase money, don't be afraid, and have vision. Like, find something you're passionate about, cast a vision, have a vision in your mind of what you want to do, and just go for it. And if you fail, try something else. Like, it's life. Like, we get so many tries. Like, I feel like I say this sometimes, and it's kind of scary because that could happen. I don't take anything for granted, but I'm like, if like the IRS comes out and says, we're not going to make people file tax returns anymore. We're just going to automatically do it. You don't need a tax preparer anymore. And I'd be like, oh crap. What am I going to do? Like, I got this staff of 20 people, and I'd go, okay, that's fine. Like, we'll figure something else out to do. Like, I don't worry about any of that stuff. Like, I'm 39 years old. I just turned 39. I get to play MA 40 in January, which is exciting. So coming for all those old guys. And so, like, I feel like if it all got told tomorrow, like, government's like, your industry's done, I'd be like, okay, I'll try something else. And so, like, at 40, I feel like there's so many people at 25, 28, 30 years old that are like, I don't have any time left to figure it out. I'm like, man, you're just starting. Like, literally at 50 years old, if something happens and I have to restart, I'm cool with that. Like, that's fine. So it's just about being, like, not afraid to go after stuff, and just, like, find things you're passionate about and give it all to it. Like, my wife turned me down like 6 times. Like I kept asking her out. And so like, I'm like, that's supposed to be my wife. Like the first time I met her, I'm like, that woman's amazing. I have got to marry this girl. And she's like, I asked her out and she's taller than me. And she's like, you're too short and all this stuff. But I'm like, I was just like, no, I kept asking her out and asking her out. And I'm like, you're supposed to be my wife. And finally she gave me a date after like 3 months. And I was like, once I had the date, it was over. So like, like that's just how I've always been. And like how I like, I just go for it.
Yeah. And that's why you're successful. I think that you totally nailed it. Like you have to try. You're never going to get anywhere if you don't try. And something you said earlier, you kind of touched on. My dad actually also taught me as a kid that like, the worst thing that can happen if you ask or if you do something is someone says no. Like you have to try. And if you don't, you'll never know what could have been. And so I think, in short, like that is what it takes, is to just do it. If you have something you're passionate about, if you think you can sell something inside of disc golf, if you think you have a service that's missing, just do it. Disc golf is so welcoming and there are so many nice and friendly people that want to support each other, And so, yeah, I really thank you for being on here, Blake, and just showing us, for one, teaching us all about taxes.
Yes.
And showing us the importance, but also just like, showing us and that a lot of being successful is in your mentality, like you said it, it's disc golf is your mental health thing, and your business is a passion project, and it goes to show you like you are capable of anything if you put your mind to it. And I know that's a cheesy slogan, but it's so true. It's all about your mindset. You have to have confidence in yourself and your abilities. So thank you so much for spreading that. I know I felt it. Joe.
Oh yes, I definitely felt it. Yeah. Oh yeah. You hit it home for me for sure. I work with kids, so for me, hearing like it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to fail, all of that stuff is what I say to children. So for you to say that to me as an adult really hit home, because I was like, oh yeah, like totally, that still applies to all of us, that we can all make mistakes and it's okay. So yeah, thank you so much for everything, Blake. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm happy. I'm so happy to do it. And anytime, anything for Paige and Joe, I'm in.
So Blake, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they need any services, if they have any questions? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so it's just Blake at LWSTax.com. So LWS stands for my son, Landon William Shaffer. That's my son I had talked about earlier. So Blake at LWSTax.com is the best way to get to us. Our website's LWSTax.com. You can fill out a contact form. Give us, if you want to just call, 937-399-1100, and you can hit us up on Instagram or Facebook and send us a DM, and we will respond pretty quick.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. We were honored to have you on, and, get out there and throw some discs.
Thank you, Blake. Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I told you guys you were going to love this episode, and wow, did I learn a lot. Paige, what was one of the highlights for you?
Yeah, honestly, I work with Blake every day almost. We talk, and I'm still learning things from him. It just goes to show you that you can never be too prepared. I really liked how he was kind of running us through what an LLC is versus an S Corp. At my level of play, all of my peers around me should be thinking about these things. These are ways that help save you money and also solidify yourself as a real entrepreneur. And more than just this career of playing, you can also be saving money with these IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks like he's talking about. What did you think was the biggest piece of advice from the AMS perspective?
Honestly, there was so much to take away. I thought that it was amazing to hear about the self-employment side of disc golf and how to take that and turn it into a business, like turn yourself into a business. And I also thought that the business side of things was super fascinating. Even though you're not a pro, you can still be in the business side of disc golf. I think that's so interesting and so fascinating. I thought he made a lot of good points about that.
Yeah, he kind of helped showing that it's not just whether you're a pro or an AM. He even gave a lot of different benefits for whether you're a tournament director, a course designer, a business owner. There are so many different tax saving strategies, and talking to someone like him Especially anyone at his firm, how they have punting competitions to win a week worth of a vacation or a $500 gift card. Like, what a cool place to work, and that they bring disc golf into it, and that they want to become the disc golf tax people. So like, it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter if you're a pro or not. There are so many different benefits to so many different people inside of disc golf to take your accounting seriously, and I think that money is something that a lot of people avoid talking about, but not for good reason. There are so many things that we can learn talking about money, and I really hope that you guys got a lot of benefit in hearing Blake just pour out his passion. You can tell He's very, very passionate about his work, and I think that bleeds into everything that he touches. It was cool to hear him talk about, and this is actually probably my favorite part of the entire interview, was that, yes, that is his passion, but he has multiple passions and he's not afraid to go for all of them. The fact that he has so many different businesses and he continues to create more and more businesses, I think that is so inspiring and just kind of shows you how much of a go-getter he is, right? And that we all have that within us. All we have to do is take the first step to making something happen.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I felt like he has such a cool office culture, and I felt like just even hearing him talk about money as a tool, and it can be used to get you somewhere, or it can be used to just create something or make the magic happen. But honestly, when it comes down to it, the happiness is within, like he was talking about, like, as long as you're happy in doing what you're doing, I think, yeah, you're nailing it. You're doing great. Yeah. So
I really hope that you guys got some good information from Blake. If you liked this, if you had some questions, follow-up questions, some concerns, feedback, anything, make sure to send us an email to approachable@JomezPro.com. If you guys are listening, make sure you hop over to YouTube, because we also have video of this podcast if you want to kind of get to know us on video platform, and you can leave comments on the YouTube channel.
All right. So yeah, if you wanted to reach out to Blake, we will have all of his information and his company's information down in the description below. So make sure you check into that and click that link in the description to reach out to him about anything to do with business, or even maybe you need an accountant, or he can point you in the right direction to someone that could help you out with that. And lastly, we want to say thank you to JomezPro for making this all happen and giving us a platform to talk to you guys on. So yeah, thank you for that, and we will see you in the next one.